2. Listen and write down the verbs in the active or passive voices. If the person who does the action is not important for the information or to the hearer, the subject is not necessary. Thus, a passive voice is used. On the contrary, if the speaker wants to put a stress on the doer, the active will be used.
1. We are replacing our old typewriter.
2. Payment should be made by check.
3. You have to pack the machine carefully.
4. Transports may be arranged through our agents.
5. You must show your driving license when you have a car.
6. The goods will be delivered next week.
7. Mr. Brown is going to pay by credit card.
8. Our office is being decorated. Sorry for the inconvenience.
9. We are installing a new air conditioner.
10. Payment in dollars is to be made by letter of credit.
11. A small charge is made for the use of the swimming pool.
3. Listen and try to figure out what is done to a letter after it is posted. Also, write down the verbs in passive form you hear.
After a letter is posted, it will be collected. Then the letter is taken to the post office. It is sorted according to the district in which it belongs to. After that, it is taken to the district to which it belongs. Next, it is put on a post office minibus. The bus then is taken by the driver. At the district, the letter will be taken off the bus and it will be sorted again. Finally, it will be delivered by a postman.
4. Interview. Listen to the interview about road accidents and summarize the main ideas by filling in the blanks provided. The following are difficult words you will hear. Attempt.
A casualty.
Emergency services.
Bystanders.
Warning triangles.
Dangerous substances.
Flammable.
Poisonous.
A vehicle.
Further injuries.
Fractures.
Internal bleeding.
Minimize the fire risk.
Fuel supply.
Immobilize the car.
Fall out of sight.
Conscious passengers.
On impact.
Keep an eye on it.
Trapped victims.
Expert help.
Conscious or unconscious.
What can I do when I come across an accident?
You have to remember never to put yourself at risk, and do not attempt to move a casualty unless it's absolutely necessary. Leave it to the emergency services.
But if I have to take immediate action, what do I have to do?
You have to instruct the bystanders to warn approaching traffic. Set up warning triangles if you can, at least 200 meters from the accident.
What should I do if there are dangerous substances?
In that case, a lorry or tanker is involved. It may contain something flammable or poisonous.
What do I have to do then?
Instruct someone to dial 999.
If there is a casualty in a vehicle, should I pull him out?
Do not pull casualties from a vehicle unless you see it's on fire.
Why? Poor casualties. They will be left in the crashed car.
Pulling them out could result in further injuries if they're suffering from fractures or internal bleeding.
Now what do I have to do next to prevent the accident from becoming worse?
Minimize the fire risk by switching the vehicle engines off. If a diesel lorry, car, or bus is involved, cut off the fuel supply. There's normally an emergency switch on the outside. Do not smoke.
What do I have to do with the car if it is still moving?
Immobilize the car. If it is upright, put on the handbrake. If it's on its side, do not try to right it, but make sure it will not roll over. Then you look inside the vehicles for any small children who may have fallen out of sight.
How can I know the right number of passengers in the car? Because someone may be thrown out on impact.
Ask conscious passengers how many people were in the vehicle.
What should I do with the trapped victims?
Keep an eye on trapped victims until the arrival of expert help.
What else should I do?
You may need to ensure clean airways if they are unconscious.
5. Listen to the following news briefs and tell how many news briefs there are in each.
His Army has agreed to meet U.S. 8th Army officials to discuss the fate of a helicopter downed in North Korea. This comes as the U.S. command has grounded all helicopters near the demilitarized zone. The meeting, the second since the helicopter was downed in North Korea, is scheduled to be held in the truce village of Panmunjom sometime today. Russian troops are pressing ahead with their fierce attack on the Chechen capital Grozny. The Russian forces, following air raids and artillery barrages last night, have moved to completely encircle the besieged city. The air and ground attacks have left scenes of devastation in Grozny, which is mostly deserted as many of the 350,000 residents have already fled. 2 passenger trains collided in a spectacular crash in Sydney, Australia this morning, and miraculously, no one was injured. The 2 trains, which were empty except for crew members, collided at a station in a northern suburb, derailing carriages and partially destroying the railway station. If the accident had happened shortly thereafter, both trains would have been filled with passengers. The Indian Parliament was gripped by bedlam today as the opposition pressed its attack on the government of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao over a series of corruption scandals. After the Prime Minister came to the defense of his food minister over a sugar import scandal, pandemonium broke out in Parliament. The government's decision not to release a report on a billion-dollar security scam added to the chaos. The Philippines has voiced its concern about a Japanese freighter which is due to sail from France to Japan next February with a cargo of radioactive nuclear waste. The Foreign Ministry also announced it's banning the ship from Philippines waters. A new shipment of 14 tons of radioactive waste is due to return to Japan after reprocessing in France. And in Hollywood, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has finally revealed what most movie fans have known for some time. They have no class. The Academy, which has seen more than its fair share of snobbish behavior, has refused to make comedian Roger Dangerfield a member. The star of such memorable film classics as Caddyshack and Back to School has been deemed unworthy to join the organization that counts as its members Pia Zadora, Madonna, and Pee Wee Herman. Exactly. That's all for Headline News. I'm Jacques Paulin for Gold FM.
Gold FM News. Gold FM News, brought to you by GQ Menswear, the image of success.
The Italian government is not expected to survive the week after the Northern League, a partner in the ruling coalition, decided to throw its lot in with the opposition. Umberto Bossi, 53, leader of the party, has now joined forces with the former communists and the Christian Democrats, 2 political forces he had long ridiculed. Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, who was expected to resign this week, has labeled Mr. Bossi as a Judas. The airlift into Sarajevo has resumed after a month's closure, with 30 UN military and humanitarian flights expected today. The airport was open to UNPROFOR flights alone on Saturday, and the UN High Commission for Refugees began its flights yesterday. Sarajevo normally receives around 80% of its supplies by air. Some 10,000 Israelis are on a secret list, banning them from getting married because the Ministry of Religious Affairs has classed them as bastards or impure. Israeli radio has reported that those on the list remain unaware until they are refused permission to marry by Orthodox rabbinical courts. Almost 3,000 people have been classed as confirmed bastards. Under the Jewish religion, a child resulting from a married woman's affair is considered a bastard, and so are all their children for the next 10 generations. Japan says it's ready to spend $250 million next year on programs aimed at redressing atrocities committed against Asian neighbors to mark the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. However, Tokyo has repeated its stance that no compensation will be paid directly to individual war victims. The Japanese Prime Minister Tomiichi Murayama announced in August that Japan will offer $1 billion over the next 10 years to help atone for acts of aggression during the war. And Beach Boys originals Brian Wilson and Mike Love have made up, after a row over millions of dollars in royalties, that Love claimed he was denied. Love, who still performs with the revamped Beach Boys, successfully filed a $5 million lawsuit for royalties from such hits as California Girls, Wouldn't It Be Nice, and I Get Around. Now that the two have made up, there's talk of Wilson rejoining the Beach Boys. That's all for Headline News. I'm Jacques Paulin for Gold FM.
6. Listen to the following news stories and give the main idea of each in one or two sentences. Listen to the following news stories and give the main idea of each in one or two sentences.
The B97.5 Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Dale Carnegie Training. Learn from the best. It's the right training for the real world. Call 531-3253. Flash flood warning is still in effect for Knox County and surrounding counties until 12:45 tomorrow morning. Be very careful if you're traveling around. Matt Heekin from TV6 says thunderstorms overnight tonight, a low of 63. Partly cloudy tomorrow. Scattered thunderstorms redeveloping later on, though, a high of 82. Thursday, partly cloudy, a high of 77 for Thursday. No mention of rain, though. It's 63 downtown and raining. I'm Greg Glover, starting another full hour of positively more music. This is Love Songs at Night.
Radio Thailand External Service and the Foreign News Division now present the evening news. First, the national news, and here are the headlines. Thailand will not deport Cambodian fugitive General Sin Song. No extradition likely for the Cambodian coup leader as he gets classified as a political prisoner. And the Deputy Agriculture Minister outlined his plans to solve the land reform scam. And now the news in detail. The Thai government will not deport Cambodian fugitive General Sin Song, nor will it consider granting him a political asylum. Foreign Minister Thaksin Shinawatra said the Department of Treaties and Legal Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has considered General Sin Song's status and decided that he can be categorized as a political prisoner, not a criminal. Thus, the government is not obliged to deport him back to Cambodia. Minister Thaksin said his ministry has reported to the Prime Minister on the issue, pointing out that Thailand had two options: to authorize Thai authorities to consider his case under the Thai law or to leave the decision to the Prime Minister as the head of the government. However, he said the Thai government would not grant political asylum to General Sin Song because Thailand would like to maintain good relations with Cambodia. General Sin Song will only be allowed to stay temporarily in Thailand. And now Radio Thailand presents an updated report of local news items. Here's Claire Leon.
Shinawatra says Cambodian court papers show convicted coup leader Sin Song can be classified as a political prisoner. Thaksin says it's now up to the Prime Minister or the court to decide whether the general can be allowed to seek asylum in a third country. Sin Song was arrested in Bangkok early last month and charged with illegal entry. So far, no state has agreed to accept him, and the Foreign Minister says Thailand will not allow him permanent shelter.
It's not appropriate to allow him to stay here in Thailand since we have a very good relationship with Cambodian government.
Unit 9.
1. In both written and spoken English, the writer or the speaker usually avoids repetition of some grammatical forms by means of ellipses or reduction. For example,
the girl swam faster than it was expected that she would.
In this sentence, there is reduction of the verb swim. That is, this sentence is read without any reduction as,
the girl swam faster than it was expected that she would swim.
Then this sentence can be further reduced to,
the girl swam faster than it was expected she would. The girl swam faster than was expected. The girl swam faster than expected.
Now, listen to these sentences and write out the verb, the adjective, the conjunction, which are reduced.
1. I'm happy if you are.
2. She sings better than I can.
3. She used to read a lot, but now she doesn't.
4. Our house is different from theirs.
5. Many buildings were damaged, but few were destroyed.
6. Jane can beat Joe and Jim very easily.
7. I'll lend you my pen if you want me to.
8. If necessary, I'll tell you in advance.
9. Mary has worked harder than you.
10. Anne is the older girl, but Jill is the taller.
11. The juiciest oranges and grapefruits are those with a thin skin.
12. Dry herbs have a much stronger flavor than fresh ones.
13. Half a teaspoon of dried herbs or a quarter of a teaspoon of powdered is the equivalent of 2 level teaspoons of fresh herbs.
14. A raw potato added to a soup or stew that has become too salty will take much of the saltiness away.
15. I've put some chocolate aside for you, 6 bars of plain and 6 of fruit and nut.
16. There's a lot of frozen food in the fridge. 2 packs of chicken breast, 3 of beef, 1 of fresh fish.
17. His first song is different from his second.
18. Sue spent part of her income and the rest she saved.
19. If you need any of that charcoal, I can give you plenty.
20. Women's bodies are better equipped to fight heart disease than men's.
21. Little girls are less likely to be badly affected by their environment than boys are.
22. Girls learn to talk much sooner than boys do.
23. Jim used to live in a small flat, but now he doesn't.
24. After you have your eyes tested, I'll do so too.
2. Listen to this story and answer the questions.
The Intelligent Dog. I'm going to tell you about an extraordinary thing that happened the other day. The day before yesterday, about 8 o'clock at night, a young woman approached the box office of the best movie theater in the city. She had with her an enormous dog with a beautifully groomed coat. She bought 2 tickets and went toward the door, followed by her dog. The manager of the theater spoke to her, saying,
"I'm sorry, miss, but dogs aren't allowed in this theater."
"But I have a ticket for him."
"I'm very sorry, but animals aren't permitted."
"You don't understand. This is a special case. My dog is so well trained and so intelligent that he's almost human.
I see that you have an exceptional animal,
I
but...
promise you that if there's any problem, we'll leave the theater immediately. I assure you that this dog isn't like any other dog you've ever seen."
Well, all right. I'll let you go in since the theater is almost empty tonight. Nevertheless, your dog will have to behave himself or you will have to leave.
Several hours go by, and now the people are leaving the theater. The manager sees the girl with her dog.
"I congratulate you. You were right. Your dog behaved very well. I've been watching him, and it's amazing how quiet he was."
"I told you that he's well trained and very intelligent."
"He certainly is. It even seemed as if he was enjoying the movie."
"Oh, he did enjoy it. He liked the film very much. However, he liked the book much better."
3. Listen to these passages and fill in the blanks with an appropriate word.
Grilling. A small shallow container filled with cold water and placed in the grill pan beneath the grill will stop the kitchen filling with smoke when you grill meat or fish. A little salt sprinkled in the bottom of the tray will also stop the dripping fat burning. Diagonal incisions when grilling poultry or fish speed up the grilling.
2. Onions. Peel onions under running water. In this way, they will not irritate the eyes and will not leave any smell on knife or hands. Put onions in the freezer for 15 minutes before peeling. It fixes the volatile oil, which is the substance causing tears and which would otherwise escape.
3. Microwave. Do not sprinkle salt directly onto vegetables or meat when cooking in the microwave. Salt absorbs moisture and as a result toughens the food. Smells in the microwave can be removed by boiling water and lemon juice, half and half, in a teacup in the microwave for 1 or 2 minutes.
Four. Listen to these sentences and fill in the blank with either an active or passive verb form.
1. An architect makes plans for a house.
2. Jane had her portrait taken by a famous photographer.
3. My washing machine is out of order. I'll have it mended.
4. An interior decorator designs furnishings, curtains, and fittings for a house.
5. I'll go to an electrician to get my electric iron repaired.
6. A waitress's job is to serve food and drinks.
7. I'll go to a jeweler to have my ring made.
8. Jo had her eyes examined by a local doctor.
9. A postman delivers letters and parcels.
10. Jill went to a mechanic to have her lawnmower fixed.
5. Listen to this interview and answer the following questions. Difficult vocabulary.
Classified.
Have contact with.
Correspondence.
Secretarial skills.
Challenging.
Work under pressure.
A difficult boss.
Long hours.
Meeting deadlines.
Efficient.
Meticulous.
Initiative.
Run the office independently. Good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Very pleased to see you, too. And I feel honored to be called for an interview.
This is not a formal interview. Please feel relaxed. We would just like to have a chat with anyone who is interested in working with us. How do you know that our company wants a secretary?
From the classified in the Bangkok Post, of course.
Why would you like to work with us?
I'd like to work in a bigger company which has contacts with foreign countries, so that I'll be able to make a full use of my knowledge of correspondence and secretarial skills in English and French.
Great. What foreign languages do you speak?
English and French. I think I can speak both of them fluently.
How about writing?
As fluently as reading, or even better, because I read a lot.
You seem to be very confident of yourself. Could you tell me what university you went to?
University of California, Berkeley.
Did you? It's a big university, isn't it? And what courses did you take there?
I did a BA in English. My minor's French. And I also took a course in basic marketing and business management.
Would you mind telling me how old you are?
I'm 27.
Now, I'd just like to ask you something about your present job. You're working, aren't you?
Yes. I've been working with ABC Company for 5 years, since I graduated.
What is your position there?
I'm secretary to the manager.
Why do you want to change your job? You seem to have a good job.
I'd like to work in a bigger and more challenging company, and because my boss is going back to his country.
Would you mind telling me what salary you would like?
At least 10,000 baht. Is that possible?
That's fine. Can you work under pressure? For example, a lot of extra work, long hours, meeting deadlines, and dealing with fussy customers, as well as a difficult boss.
Yes, I think so. I usually work until 8 p.m., and my present boss is efficient and meticulous.
I suppose you must be able to work on your own initiative and be able to run the office independently, especially when the boss is away.
Of course I can. I'm used to it. My boss frequently makes business trips abroad, and I often have to make decisions for him.
Lovely. I'll let you know the result of the interview by letter. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Goodbye.
6. Listen to the following news briefs and tell how many news briefs each set has.
Brought to you by GQ Menswear, the image of success.
The Algerian hijackers of an Air France plane have threatened to execute more hostages unless the plane, which is now at Marseille Airport in France, is refueled. Earlier, the president of Algeria allowed the plane to fly there after the hostages shot dead a third passenger, a French diplomat, and dumped his body on the runway. They've also demanded to be allowed to fly on to Paris. China's Prime Minister Li Peng has now arrived in Rangoon for 3 days of talks with Burma's military junta. In an official statement, Mr. Li said his visit would expand bilateral relations both in scope and depth. He's due to meet with the chief of Burma's State Law and Order Restoration Council, SLORC Lieutenant General Kin Nyunt, early this evening. President Yeltsin has opened a meeting of Russia's National Security Council to discuss the failure of Russian troops to put down the rebellion in the southern breakaway republic of Chechnya. Russia's Human Rights Commissioner earlier accused his government of lying about the situation in Chechnya. He said civilians are being massacred in their hundreds in continuing Russian air raids on residential areas of the capital, Grozny. A spokesman for the U.S. Army has said the North Korean People's Army has refused to set a date for the release of the surviving American helicopter pilot who was downed over North Korea 9 days ago. The US-led United Nations Command said the refusal came during a meeting of generals from both sides at the Panmunjom Truce village on the border.
North Carolina trucker suspected in at least 3 killings of women is held without bond in Dandridge this morning. Sean Patrick Goebel will be tried first in Jefferson County, then likely in Greene County. He's also suspected of killing a woman in North Carolina. The state Senate has approved a bill that would allow competition for local telephone service. The measure, backed by South Central Bell, would also phase out state regulation of the company. 14 years after a Murfreesboro college student was killed in Alabama, the man convicted of doing it has been executed. Varnell Weeks was electrocuted early today for the 1981 killing of Mark Anthony Batts. And 2 Nashville brothers are held without bond on a variety of charges. They allegedly threatened to kidnap a radio talk show host and a TV newscaster. They're accused of explosives, weapons, and interstate transportation of a stolen truck. And finally, the governor has a new dog, one he's likely to keep for a while. You remember, we've been talking about the commotion caused earlier this week. The governor tried to adopt what he thought was a stray dog, and his new dog's name now is Ruby. She comes to the mansion from an animal shelter. That's politically correct of him. Ruby is a 3-year-old black Labrador retriever mix who lived at the shelter for about a year. The governor says he chose Ruby because she appears to be a calm dog and knows she will be good with children.
Unfortunately, already a little orphan girl has come forward to claim Ruby, so
stop.
Controversy starts all over again.
You're incorrigible. And then on Sunday, Mother's Day, partly cloudy, mid-80s for a high. And again, Matt says we'll have a slight chance of scattered thunderstorms, but nothing really serious and certainly nothing like we went through on Wednesday. Right now, it is 55 degrees at 8:31, and we want to take a moment to say congratulations to all the UT graduates. Way to go. Yes.
All right.
I'm Lori Tucker of TV6. Now I'll hand it back to you, TK.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, Lori.
Thanks, you too.
All right, thanks. 8:32 now.